Okay, guys and girls, we are back. Now, I noticed yesterday that in 12 hours, I got 9 of these bad boys. Now, that's a record for me personally. I mean, I've never got that many dislikes before. So that's new territory, I suppose, which is cool. But if you disliked it, then give it another dislike. If you liked it, then give it a thumbs up. And that's great if you can do that. But welcome back to part 2. In this particular video, we're going to be talking about the structure of my track Secrets and where I got the inspiration from. So at the time of me trying to make this track, I was listening to a lot of Charmy's old tracks, and Promises really rang a bell to me in particular because he started off with some really interesting percussion at the start. Now I'm just going to get the track up for you. It's Chamy Promises. Yeah, so straight away I love the voices and I love the percussion. Like simple rhythmic percussion, I think it really works well. So I got inspiration from that track basically. So unfortunately, I can't actually play it within the project because the CPU, as we were experiencing some problems yesterday, can't actually keep up. So I had to render it out and play it in a different project. So yeah, here it is. So I touched on the atmospheric elements a lot yesterday. And yeah, that obviously worked, I feel. And the percussion part was really important to me to like have that rhythmic element there in place, because without that it wouldn't have worked, you know. So yeah, it wouldn't have worked, that intro, and I had to be there to give it that rhythm, because if it was just the melody on its own, it wouldn't want to make you move. It would just be like static and boring, like a 1960s radio station, which is really poor quality. I don't know what I'm talking about, but you get the drift. Well, I hope you do anyway. And then it goes on. And then I got the inspiration of the voices from that Charmy track as well. So this track was basically Charmy if he was an Indian British dude like me. Like if he was an Indian British dude like me and he was living in England, he would make a track like this. That's pretty much what I tried to do, what I tried to achieve in this track. Just thinking like I am a British Indian version of Charmy, and then I just bang this out. So yeah, it's quite something for me. But yeah, I did something, so that was cool. But I'm actually going off on massive tangents here. I mean, this is meant to be a part 2, right? So, alright, let's get into the project itself. Okay, so I used a lot of effects as well. I briefly touched on that yesterday with the white noise that I used. But I used a lot of these vocal shoutouts with delay on them. And I feel like that delay just fills in space. When you've just got one bit of a sample and it's not as long as you want it to be, you can always make sure, or it's a short sample, but you want it to be filling. So one way you can do that is by adding a tail of reverb to it, or just adding some delay with whatever time suits you. Okay, so the delay time of this that I added on the mixer track was it was 4 millisecond delay. 4 millisecond delay, was it? Yes, I believe. I don't know if that's milliseconds or seconds, the 4. I'm not sure. But it was 4 something delay. I'm not sure it is what it is, if it's milliseconds or seconds. But yeah, I like to add a lot of delay in my samples to just give it that fullness, give it that depth. That's the word I was looking for yesterday, by the way, when I stumbled. Depth. A lot of what I try and do in my productions is to add in a lot of depth, okay? So I think that's really important for me and for all you other producers out there. I mean, I listen to a lot of music, and oftentimes this stuff actually gets overlooked to my kind of level of tracks that I listen to. But it's really important. It's so key to like add a lot of atmospheric elements, but then even just like one or two samples, but with like reverb at the end or with a delay at the end, it makes a significant impact. So that's a must. So I did that, and then I went through the snare build up briefly as part of one of my sounds that I used. I had delay added to this as well, which really helped. Oh, it's very quiet. Damn it. Oh, of course, because it's on automation. Okay, what I can do. Ah, it's because I've turned off everything on the mixer track. Okay. Okay, so that doesn't really play it, but I would have to actually play you the main track for you to be able to hear that. Okay, so here's the main track again. You hear like faintly the snare coming in, like as a faint automation, volume automation. It just starts fading in. And I like to add a bit of rhythm as well onto like the kick and the clap, like. Now I don't know what kind of genre that rhythm initially originated from, but it's like. Yeah, I don't know what genre that rhythm came from, but it just came to me, and I decided to include it as part of my build-up, which is something I've never really done before. I've never had this kind of build-up going for me, so I feel as though that was really important to do that, to just mix it up a little bit more, you know, rather than just keep it as a mundane like build-up, like boom, 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 and then it just gets faster and faster and drops. But yeah, that's the build-up part of the track. I know I've actually rambled on a lot, and we haven't even got to the first drop yet, but I like to ramble on. That's just my style. So yeah. And as I said yesterday, I'll be going through the mixer tracks of each of the drop sounds today and the processing behind it. So let's get onto it. So for the drop sounds, we've got drop sounds, main drop leads. Let's go into that. Okay, so automated, so that's a bit of an issue. Come on, where are you? This was actually the drop sound that I used. It was just one sound. Wow, Nexus is really that powerful. Yeah, so it's just that sound that I used, and there's very minimal that I had to do to the sound in order to make it really impactful. Where is it? Come on. Ah, yeah, here we are. I thought there was more than one sound, yeah. I didn't scroll down. My bad. Okay, so these are all the sounds I use, and I had to turn it really down because, of course, as you layer sounds together, the overall gain of those sounds just goes up exponentially. So you really have to deal with that by putting a cap on the overall volume. So I had to turn it down by quite a notch. But I started off with some saturation. Now, saturation, as I described yesterday, is just distortion in a certain area of the sound that you like. So, like, you can go really low end, and these are defined by the bands right here. So, band 1 crossover frequency, 100 Hz. So, from 0 to 100 Hz, or from 30 to 100 Hz, which is what the human ear can hear. It can hear from 30 Hz to, I believe, 16 to 18 Hz, 18,000 Hz. So yeah, that's what the human ear can hear. So that's the first band, from like 30 to 100 Hz, then from 100 to 616 Hz, and then from 616 to 3254 Hz, and so on and so forth. Okay, so those are the bands that I controlled. Okay, now what I like to do, because I don't really know that much about saturation in depth to like tailor it exactly to my kind of track. So what I like to do is I just pick some presets. So I picked Faster Master 0 as a preset in Saturn, and I believe it worked very well. And what I like to do as well, because this sound initially couldn't go below a certain note, so I had to go into the mix section of Nexus and individually turn off some mixer tracks just so I could go lower in the octave, because with my melody that I'd made for this drop, it wouldn't actually let me go lower than a certain octave unless I turned these off beforehand, so I had to do that. Yeah, that was really important for me. And then it was just the same. I believe it's just the... No, that was actually a different sound. What I'm talking about. Yeah, that was a different sound from the same pack. Yeah, from the same pack. Future House XP pack. Expansion pack from Nexus 2. They've got a lot of great sounds, by the way. If you want to make Future House, you should really purchase that pack. It's amazing. And then this as well. I'll go through the sounds individually, so... Of course, there's got to be that in the background now, isn't there? Still, I'm just gonna have to turn that off. There we go. What's happened there? Oh no. Damn it. Shit. No. I actually don't know what's happened to this. Locked global off. What the heck? Oh, okay, yeah, I've got it back. We have life again. Okay, so yeah, I'll go through the sounds individually now that I used. So this was the first of them. So there was that sound, then there's this sound, which was the main sound. It's a very aggressive sound. Yeah, I like to play around a little bit on the keyboard, but yeah, because of the latency issues, it's not synced up, so I apologise for the delay. And yeah, that was the second sound. This was the third sound. Please don't crash on me. Cool, it's good. Right, got off the hook there. So all in all, I layered 3, 4, 5, 6 sounds together. Now, you may think that's crazy, because if you look at most of the Nexus sounds on their own, they've already got about 3 or 4 layers. Yeah, so I actually layered about 12 sounds together, if you think of it. Wow, that's actually mad. I didn't even realise that. Yeah, I layered about 12 sounds together, and I put them through one mixer track. Wow, literally from one mixer track. And I just added a little bit of EQ and a high pass filter. That's it. That's literally, or low pass filter. What was it? Yeah, high pass filter. It was a high pass filter. Correct. Okay, so yeah, that's what I did for the drop synths and how I processed them. It's very straightforward, actually. It's just mostly got to do with opening up Nexus, picking the sounds that you like, going into the mod tab. So if you go into the mod tab, not mod tab, sorry. If you go into the mix tab, yeah, mix tab, you can actually individualize the sounds that you want to include. So, that's not a very good example. So if for instance, if I take out number 2, it sounds like this. If I put back in number 2, it sounds like this. Okay, it actually sounds very similar. Damn. Yeah, there we are. That's a noticeable difference. So if I take out number 6, it sounds like this. If I put back in number 6, or number 7 was it? Yeah, number 7. It sounds like that. So could already tell the difference, and that's on a muted sound. I didn't actually use that for the drop, but yeah, you can see the difference, how you can actually combine different Nexus sounds and then just individualize them, you know, individualize the parts of a Nexus preset that you like. Because I'm not necessarily good at sound design, I have to admit that, hand on heart, but I like to just layer in a different way, or use layering in the most efficient way as possible. Of course, there's no right or wrong way of doing things in music, so that's the beauty of music. You can just experiment and go wild to your heart's content, and just, yeah, layer in a way that you want to layer in a way that works for you best. So that's what I like to do, to save time as well. And although these may be like named a bit different, initially I had a different melody, as I told you guys yesterday. I had this melody to start with, which can't even play because of my CPU, so I messed up with this project. Yeah, but I had that melody to start with, so excuse like the poor naming or the irrelevant naming of these patterns. Now, if we go to the mixing of these sounds, okay, so we go through the sounds individually first. So I feel like I needed to add in a bit more bass. I needed to add a bit more bass and a tad bit of mid bass in there as well. And I found the perfect preset for that in Nexus. Sequence bass time. And I just, like I told you guys before, just individualize the sounds according to my requirements, and I ended up coming up with that result, yeah. And then two different sounds completely, but they actually work really well together, I feel. So that's 3 sounds I layered together, and 2 of them are in different mixer tracks compared to 1 sound which is in another mixer track. So the bass sound, I cut out all the high end. I literally cut out all the high end, and I just left some of the low end, which was a bit reduced, because the blue one there, I reduced this one because otherwise, if you keep it in place, it's going to be very boomy, and that's bad in the clubs, I can imagine. Although my track's never been played out in a club, but I'd imagine it to be relatively bad if I left that in there, because you don't want too much sub, because it actually hurts your ears and it can really like screw them up. So that's bad. No one wants bad ears. And then I slightly reduced to 200 hertz, and just mostly just cutting off the high end of the bass, because you don't really need that. The other 2 layers that I layered with this bass lead, those were for the high end predominantly, so I just did the converse, I'd imagine, for those 2 in track number 7, mixer track number 7, and I fattened it as well. I fattened it to give it that brightness with Sausage Fattener. I really love this plugin. I mean, just look at this dude's face. It's too funny. Rah. She gets angry and stuff. So that's awesome. Such a unique plugin. But I love Sausage Fattener. Yeah, and then I just cut off the low end with a bit of FabFilter Pro Q too. And then I love Valhalla Room. I think those guys do an awesome job at creating such a good reverb plugin and reverb plugins because they have a multitude of them. Again, FabFilter Pro Q. And then I like to use Span a lot. I've not touched on this before, but this is a really good spectrum analyzer. For me personally, my ears are not like amazing. They're not amazing. Like in terms of I can't pick up frequencies in a certain range or be able to tell frequencies that are in a certain range. I can't do that with my ears. I'm going to be honest with you. So that's why I always use a spectrum analyzer. So I don't have to do that. Or so I can at least have help with that, you know. So this was predominantly, to start with actually, it was in a completely different frequency spectrum. But then of course as you add a Sausage Fattener, a Pro Q2, a reverb, another Pro Q2 and so on and so forth, it completely alters a spectrum. And the spectrum, yeah, of the frequencies completely. So yeah, can't even speak sometimes. I'm so bad. Sorry. Cool. Okay, so that was just a phone notification. Sorry about that. And going back to it. So these sounds, were the sounds that I used in the break. Okay, so I'm going to go back to this project. If it plays, okay, there we are. Okay, so and it was the same. Like this track was my easiest track that I've made so far. It was literally just layering was a little bit difficult, and melody, to come up with the melody was a little bit difficult. But other than that, I just had fun with it really. I tried to use. I initially even had a Hardwell a cappella on it in the break, which is crazy. Kind of goes though.
Reaching for stars, one by one.
It kind of goes because it's F sharp and then the track's F sharp as well, so it goes. But obviously that's Hardwell's a cappella. I can't use that. And I wanted it to make my own interpretation. Not interpretation, my own track. So that's why I vouched for these Tell Me Your Secrets vocals. It was actually in a sample pack I found by Audacity, I believe, on Splice Sounds. Splice Sounds are so great. They've got a lot of great sound banks there and sample packs. So I love to turn to those guys when I need a bit of inspiration here and there. And yeah, I just like using their sounds and some of their sample packs as well. So yeah, that's where I got the vocals from for the Tell Me Your Secrets part. Yeah, these parts.
You can't control me. Tell me your secrets.
It's so funny, you know, because these vocals sound like a psychotic killer woman. Like, she's after her boyfriend that's cheated on her. Like, it's so crazy. She sounds like some weird woman. Like, if I heard her, I would actually be freaked out. Like, if she said it in that tone of voice to me, I'd be like, what secrets? What secrets? I'd just be freaked out, so... Yeah, but I decided to use that because it's a bit freaky, you know, and because I feel it goes actually with the melody that I came up with, so yeah, I just had to use that. Bit of a no-brainer really at the time. And then there was atmospheric plugs I touched on yesterday, so I don't need to go that much in depth about them. And I think I've done minimal processing with them. Yeah, I just done a bit of EQ, cutting out between the 1 and 2 hertz predominantly. on 2k hertz predominantly, and added a bit of touch of reverb from Valhalla Room, and a bit of EQ, and S1 Imager. Now, S1 Imager from Waves is a great stereo width plugin. Now, what this represents, this circle, is like the max width of your ears that it can take. Yeah, so I've gone even past that, so I've really tried to maximize the width of this particular sound and make it like, because sounds that have a lot of reverb in, generally speaking, I like to put out wide as much as possible, because it's like they're space fillers, because they got loads of reverb in. They're basically space fillers, so I really love to fill them out wide. So yeah, and that helped with that. And then yeah, I use the Tell Me Your Secrets in the whoa. Right, let me solo that.
Look into my eyes.
No, that's a different one. Where's the woo? Here we are. Let me start. Yeah, I use this for the drop as well to just make it a bit more unique, because I hear that a little bit in electro house, you know, like the vocal shouts. Yeah, that's what they're called. Not the woo and the what. Yeah, the vocal shouts, that's what they're called. So yeah, I hear them a lot in the electro house genre, and like dubstep as well. But yeah, I don't hear them so much in future house, so that's why I decided to go along with that. A bit of vocal shouts and a bit of that charmy, like it's a little bit of an influence of obviously charmy, but then electro house as well by like Hardwell. Some of Hardwell's old stuff, like I got a little bit of inspiration from that, melodically speaking, and what else? Yeah, electro house from the vocal shouts perspective as well. I got inspiration from Hardwell as well. So yeah, that's cool. The processing for these, I just went through it. I literally put a delay, EQ and reverb. So it's really simple stuff. And that's usually what I tend to put on really short samples like this, where you need to fill out a lot of space. That's what I like to do. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Effects, I don't process effects that much really, because they're done really well usually when they're taken from the sample pack. I just generally just put an EQ on there just to cut out all the low end so it doesn't interfere with the rest of the mix, because there's a lot of elements going on, especially if you've got a build up going on. Like there's so many percussive elements, like, and the kick on this track in particular is already taking up the low end, and then I've got some of the mid frequencies, a lot of the mid frequencies taken up by the leads that are being introduced, and so on and so forth. So you really have to compensate with that by cutting out the low end on each one of your FX tracks, or at least 95% of them. No, sorry for this burping, or whatever it is. Oh gosh. So yeah, that's what I try and do. I always take out the low end, you know, because then it get in the FX sounds, because then it gives more space and more width, even width to play around with, you know, for your other elements. And that was it. That was it, guys. Really simple stuff. Really simple stuff. It's been a very short video, but yeah. I could, I guess, go through some automations as well. I like to use high pass and low pass filters. Now, I'm sure you've noticed this yourself when you listen to some EDM tracks, but a lot of these artists, what they do is they take out the low end of a certain sound. So if you notice when you listen to my build up right here, at the later stages of the build up in particular, it like thins out. It thins out, like the low end slowly gets taken away, so it starts becoming a bit more clean, but a little bit less in energy, you know. And then that allows for the bass, when it kicks in, when the drop kicks in, to have way more impact. I also learned this from Danik as well, watching one of Danik's masterclasses. If you don't know Danik, he's an awesome artist. DANNIC. Big up Danik. Yeah, what I learned from him was, through watching these masterclass videos, was to actually reduce the mono signal. Or increase the mono signal as the build-ups come into its final stages, and then make it stereo again. Yeah, so I don't know if I did that in this particular track. Let me see. And you do that on the master channel as well with this little thing, this little guy here. So like you'd make it completely mono, like purple, and then you'd switch it back, not to completely like blue color, just keeping it in the middle, but you'd make it completely mono, and then you would switch it back. Okay, so that really adds in a lot of energy that you don't even realize, but it does. Like without it, it's noticeable actually. So yeah, I did that as well, I feel. Let me double check actually if I did do that, but if I didn't, then I should have done that, because it actually would have made a huge impact. No, I didn't actually do that. It must have been one of my latest tracks then. So even after this, I'm working on a few tracks right now actually, and I'm using that in there. So yeah, that's that. So yeah, that's it, guys and girls. That is it, guys and girls. My breakdown of my track Secrets, the Vacation Secrets. Tell me your secrets. Such a weird psychotic woman. I would so be scared shitless if she said that to me. Gosh. But anyways, that's it. I hope you've enjoyed watching, and if you have, then please feel free to leave comments down below and subscribe to my channel, because I'll be uploading a lot more of these videos as time goes along. But right now I'm a little bit swamped with my businesses that I'm working on, but when I get time I'd like to upload a few of my projects, a few breakdowns, of my projects, just going through what I did, what was my thinking behind it, and yeah, guys, so peace out, and till next time.